Have you ever had this feeling? The moment you open your eyes to a new day, but your mind doesn't. It doesn't greet the morning. There is no dawn for it. Instead, it's as if a race has already started, long before your alarm clock even goes off. In just a few short seconds, an invisible list of things to do, conversations you need to have, worries from yesterday, and predictions for tomorrow. They all come crashing in, seizing that precious, quiet space of the early morning. Your body is still here, in your warm bed, but your soul has already been swept away. Swept into the vortex of hustle, of pressure, of the feeling that you're already behind even when the day has just begun. We've all been there. The feeling of being exhausted before you've even really started. But ancient Buddhist wisdom teaches us that the morning doesn't have to be a battle. It's not a space for a chaotic mind to take control. On the contrary, it's the most sacred moment, a doorway through which we can shape the entire energy of our day. It is our opportunity to choose peace over panic. And in this video today, I'm not just going to talk about theory. I'm going to share with you 8 specific, simple practices that you can apply tomorrow morning to transform your morning from a chaotic mess into a peaceful and powerful ritual. Let's begin together with the first key, a foundational understanding that will completely change how you see this problem. So, why do most of us wake up feeling tired and as if we're already behind? The ancient masters had a name for this feeling, the monkey mind. And in understanding it, we find the first key to our own freedom. In the ancient Buddhist scriptures, written in the Pali language, the term kapicita is used to describe a very familiar state of mind. Kapi means monkey, and citta means mind. Imagine a restless monkey that never sits still. It's constantly swinging from one branch to another, reaching for a piece of fruit in the past, then immediately leaping to another branch in the future. It takes a small bite of a sweet memory, then chews on the bitterness of a regret. It worries about a branch that might break in the distance, then gets excited about a cluster of berries it hasn't reached yet. It never stops to truly rest on any single branch, never truly abides in the present moment. That is the perfect metaphor for our own untrained minds each morning. Let me tell you the story of Sarah, a 35-year-old project manager. You might just see yourself in her story. It's 5 a.m. Sarah wakes up before her alarm, but immediately the monkey in her mind starts to leap. The first branch, the 9 a.m. meeting. Have I prepared enough slides? The voice of that difficult client from yesterday echoes in her head. It jumps to a second branch, her inbox with 30 unread emails. One from her boss is marked urgent. Her heart beats a little faster. It swings back to a branch in the past. That awkward conversation with a colleague yesterday. I should have said something different. I shouldn't have stayed silent. A wave of regret washes over her. Sarah's body is still lying in bed, still feeling the softness of her warm blanket. But her mind is already in a full-blown stress marathon. It has left the present, left this room, and is running at full speed down a track of anxiety. Does Sarah's story sound familiar? This internal chaos is what modern psychology calls mental chatter. So, what's our natural reaction when this monkey starts screeching? We try to shut it up. We tell ourselves, stop thinking, be quiet, be positive. But fighting with your mind is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push it down, the more forcefully it bursts. Back up. The second mistake, and perhaps the more subtle one, is that we believe every story this monkey tells us. We believe that anxious voice is the absolute truth. We believe the worst-case scenarios it paints are destined to happen, and that we must act on them immediately. So, what is the first step? It's not to silence the monkey. The first step is simply to recognize that it's there. It's the moment when you can say to yourself gently, "Ah, my monkey mind is active." That's it. No judgment, no fighting, just awareness. The core lesson here is this. You have a noisy mind. You are not your noisy mind. This small shift in perspective is the first and most important step towards freedom. When you no longer identify with the monkey, you are no longer dragged around by it. You create a little space, a moment of pause, and it's in that space that peace begins to grow. So, once we've identified our monkey mind, how do we begin to gently tame it? The answer is simpler than you think, and it starts with your very next breath. Before your feet even touch the floor, you have access to the most powerful tool for calming the storm inside. It's been with you since the day you were born, and it's called your breath. This isn't a new idea. Over 2,500 years ago, in a foundational text called the Anapanasati Sutta, or the Discourse on the Mindfulness of Breathing, the Buddha taught that this simple act of consciously observing the in-breath and the out-breath is enough to begin the path of transformation. Why? Because while our monkey mind is constantly leaping between the past and the future, our breath can only exist in one place, right here, right now. The breath is the ultimate anchor. When your mind is a ship being tossed around in the storm of your worries, returning to your breath is like dropping an anchor into the calm, deep seabed. It helps the ship find stability, even if the waves on the surface are still raging. Let's go back to Sarah and the marathon in her mind. Instead of leaping out of bed and letting the monkey drag her away, she decides to try something different, just for 30 seconds. She closes her eyes. With the first breath, she inhales slowly. For the first time this morning, she actually feels something in the present. She feels the cool morning air entering her nostrils. That's it. With the second breath, she places a hand on her chest and feels it gently rise as she inhales and slowly fall as she exhales. A simple movement, proof that she is alive. And with the third breath, a long, gentle exhale, she imagines the tightness in her shoulders melting away, like an ice cube dissolving in warm water. The marathon in her head hasn't been canceled. The to-do list is still there. But for the first time this morning, it has paused. With just 3 breaths, she has created a moment of respite, a little space to literally breathe. What Sarah just did wasn't magic. It was a form of mind-body science. You see, the breath is an incredible bridge. It's the only link between your autonomic nervous system, the things that run on autopilot like your heartbeat and digestion, and your somatic nervous system, the things you control consciously, like moving your hands. By consciously taking control of your breath, even for a few seconds, you are sending a direct signal to your brain's alarm system. That signal says, everything is okay. You are safe. You can stand down. But here is a very common mistake. When we hear conscious breathing, our first instinct is to try to breathe correctly. We try to force a deep belly breath, hold it for a certain count, or exhale to a specific rhythm. The goal, especially at the beginning, is not to change the breath. It is simply to notice the breath as it is. The part of your mind that says, you're doing it wrong, your breath is too shallow. That's just the monkey mind finding a new branch to play on. Don't fall into its trap. Whether your breath is shallow or deep, fast or slow, it doesn't matter. Just observing it is enough. And this leads us to the beautiful lesson of this practice. You don't have to search for peace in a future vacation, a bigger house, or a different job. It's not out there. It's always right here. It's as close as your next breath. Once you've used your breath to anchor yourself in the present moment, you've created a space. The next step is to choose what seeds you want to plant in that space. Our brain, for survival reasons, is naturally wired to spot problems. It's like a scanner that is constantly looking for what's wrong, what's dangerous, or what's lacking. But what if for just 2 minutes we intentionally rewired it to spot blessings instead? In Buddhist psychology, this state of constantly scanning for what's wrong is the mind of lack. And the direct antidote to it is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the fertile soil in which the most beautiful qualities can grow. It's the foundation for karuna, or compassion, the ability to empathize with the suffering of others. And it's also the foundation for mudita, a beautiful concept of sympathetic joy, the ability to feel happy for the happiness of others. But it all begins with recognizing the conditions for happiness that we already have, right here. Let's imagine David, a 45-year-old man going through a very difficult financial time. His first thoughts in the morning are a storm of numbers, of bills that are due, of calls he has to make. A heavy feeling of not enough sits on his chest. Panic begins to rise. But today, he decides to try something different. He looks at his hands resting on the blanket and silently thinks, "Thank you for this warm bed that sheltered me through the night." He puts his feet on the floor. "Thank you, legs, for being strong, enough to carry me today." He walks into the kitchen and pours a glass of water. He looks at the glass in his hand. "Thank you for this clean water to nourish my body." His financial problems haven't vanished. The bills are still there, but the heavy feeling of panic has eased just a little. It's been replaced by a quiet, more resilient feeling. I'm okay, I still have what I need for this moment. This is a crucial point. The practice of gratitude is not toxic positivity. It is not about putting on a fake smile and pretending your challenges don't exist. Not at all. It is about expanding your perspective. Imagine your life is a garden. Yes, it has weeds. Those are your problems, your difficulties. But it also has flowers. Those are your blessings, no matter how small. Gratitude is the conscious act of choosing to water the flowers too, and there will be mornings when you feel you have absolutely nothing to be grateful for. In those moments, the biggest mistake is to try to force the feeling of gratitude. On those days, just be a reporter. Just list the facts. The sun is rising. I am breathing. There is a roof over my head. You don't have to feel it. Just name it. The simple act of naming what is good begins the process of rewiring the brain. The feeling will eventually follow. The focus. Because gratitude is a mental muscle. The first time you go to the gym, you can't lift the heaviest weight, but with consistent practice, you get stronger. It's the same with gratitude. The more you practice looking for the good, the more good you will see in your life. After anchoring with the breath and planting seeds of gratitude, we learn to work with what will inevitably arise in the mind. The endless stream of thoughts. Your thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. Some clouds are dark and stormy. Others are white and fluffy. The problem is, we often forget that we are the sky, not the clouds. This beautiful metaphor is the very heart of a practice called vipassana, or insight meditation. Its core is to teach us the incredibly important difference between thinking and being aware that we are thinking. When you are lost in a thought, you are the cloud. You are swept away by it, drenched in its rain. But when you are aware of the thought, you become the sky. You see the cloud is there, you allow it to pass, but you are not the cloud. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. The breath is the tool that helps us remember that we are the sky." Let's return to Sarah's morning. After practicing her breathing and gratitude, she feels calmer. But then, a dark cloud begins to roll in. A thought appears, clear and powerful. I'm going to mess up this presentation today. Immediately, the old reaction kicks in. Her stomach tightens. A wave of panic begins to rise. She's about to be swallowed by this storm, but then she remembers, I am the sky. She doesn't try to push the thought away. She doesn't argue with it. Instead, she does something completely different. She just lets it be there. She names it silently in her mind. Ah, this is the fear of failure cloud. I see it. She continues to breathe, using her breath as an anchor. She observes the cloud, feels its heaviness, but doesn't buy into the story it's telling. And something miraculous happens. The cloud doesn't necessarily vanish right away, but suddenly, she can see all the vast blue sky around it. The thought is still there, but it has lost its power to define her entire reality. What Sarah is practicing is a skill so powerful that modern psychology has built an entire therapy around it, called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, ACT. In ACT, they call this skill diffusion. It's the process of learning to unstick yourself from your thoughts, learning to see them for what they really are, just bits of language, images, and sounds passing through your mind, not literal truths or commands you have to obey. And this brings us to the biggest mistake people make when it comes to meditation: trying to empty the mind or stop thinking. The goal is not to have a cloudless sky. That's impossible, and it's not necessary. The goal is to become so familiar with the vast, blue, and limitless sky of your own awareness that you are no longer afraid of any storm. And this leads us to one of the most liberating truths. True freedom isn't found in winning the war against your thoughts. It's found in realizing that from the very beginning, there was never a war at all. Freedom is recognizing that your thoughts cannot control you unless you give them permission to. Once we've learned to observe our inner world like the sky, the next step is to apply that same wisdom to the outer world, which is often just as unpredictable as the weather. We all have a script in our head for how the day should go, but life rarely follows our script. The secret to peace isn't a better script, it's learning to improvise. This constant gap between our script and reality points to one of the most profound truths taught by the Buddha: anicca, or impermanence. Impermanence means that nothing is static. Everything is in a constant state of flow, a continuous state of change, and the root of our frustration, our anger, our stress, what Buddhism calls dukkha, is our resistance to this natural flow. We suffer because we try to cling to something that is, by its very nature, ungraspable. Therefore, the practice of letting go of our expectations is the practice of accepting reality as it is. Let's meet Mark, a father of 2 small children. Mark's script for this morning is perfect. He'll wake up at 6, meditate for 15 minutes in silence, then sip his coffee and read a few pages of a book while the kids play quietly on their own. But here is the reality. Crash. The sound of a milk carton hitting the floor, a white puddle spreading across the kitchen. The youngest starts to cry. The oldest refuses to wear the clothes laid out for school. Mark feels that familiar heat rising in his chest, anger, helplessness. His script has been completely ruined. But instead of yelling, he stops. He closes his eyes for just 1 second. He takes one deep breath, and a thought arises, not from the script, but from his practice. This is the reality of this morning. The plan has changed. Instead of desperately clinging to the perfect morning in his imagination, he accepts the chaotic morning that is actually happening. He grabs a cloth, his voice stays calm as he soothes his youngest child. The morning is still messy, but the inner storm within Mark has quieted. It is incredibly important to understand what Mark did. Letting go does not mean giving up or being apathetic. Mark didn't give up on the goal of getting his kids to school on time. He only let go of his rigid attachment to how the morning was supposed to feel. An oak branch is strong and rigid, and, in a storm, it snaps. A willow branch is flexible. It bends with the wind, and so it survives. Mark chose to be the willow. Our ego often tells us that letting go is a sign of weakness, of failure. But the opposite is true. It takes immense strength and wisdom to stop fighting with reality, and this reveals a beautiful secret to a peaceful life. Happiness isn't found in trying to control every scene of your life's movie. Happiness is found in learning how to dance, with its beautiful, messy, and unpredictable uncertainty. After learning to flow with reality like a river, we are no longer victims of our day. We are now in a position to consciously choose how we want to navigate it. A to-do list tells you what to do. An intention tells you how to be while you're doing it. One manages your tasks, the other manages your soul. This practice of setting an intention is a modern expression of a timeless wisdom, known in Buddhism as Samma Sankappa, or right intention. This is the second element of the Noble Eightfold Path, the path that leads to enlightenment. Right intention isn't about vague, positive thinking. It's about actively cultivating specific intentions, the intention of letting go instead of clinging, the intention of kindness instead of anger, and the intention of harmlessness instead of causing hurt. Setting an intention in the morning is how we bring this profound path into our everyday lives. Let's check back in with Sarah one more time. On her screen is a long to-do list. Finish the quarterly report. Lead a high-stakes client meeting. Call the plumber about the leaky faucet. This list could easily make her feel overwhelmed, but this morning, after her practices, she sets just one single intention for the entire day. She writes it on a sticky note and puts it on her monitor. Today my intention is to listen deeply, and something magical happened. In her client meeting, just as she was about to interrupt them to offer a solution, her intention reminded her to pause and truly hear their concerns. The relationship improved. When she was on hold for 20 minutes with the plumber's office, her intention reminded her to listen to her own breath instead of letting frustration take over. She felt calmer. Even while writing her report, this intention helped her to listen to the data, to find the deeper story behind the numbers more thoughtfully. Her to-do list didn't change, but her experience of it changed completely. The intention became her North Star, her guide for every action. This is the difference between a map and a compass. Your to-do list is the map. It's detailed, clear, and very useful when you're on a familiar road. But what happens when there's a roadblock, an unexpected event? The map becomes useless. Your intention is your compass. It doesn't show you every single step, but it always points you in your chosen direction. No matter what obstacles you encounter, you can always look at your compass and reorient yourself. You need both, but the compass is more important. Common mistake is to set intentions that are too vague, like, today I want to be happy. Happiness is an outcome, not a practicable intention. A better intention might be, today I will look for small moments of joy. And remember, an intention is a gentle invitation, not another rigid rule to beat yourself up with. If you happen to forget it, just smile and return to it. And this brings us to a simple but profound truth. How you do something is more important than what you do. The quality of your presence, the energy you bring to a task, that is what determines your experience. Your intention is the key that unlocks that quality. Once you have your compass, your intention for the day, the next step is to practice using it. And the training ground is not a faraway monastery, it's right in your own kitchen. Enlightenment isn't just found on a mountaintop, it can be found in your first cup of coffee. The secret is not in the action, but in the attention you bring to it. No one has taught this profound truth more beautifully than the late Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh. He wrote, "While washing the dishes, you might be thinking about the tea afterwards. But that means you are incapable of living during the time you are washing the dishes. The point is simple. Life is only available in the present moment. If your mind is somewhere else, you are not truly living. You are simply existing on autopilot. So right now, let's try this together, with your morning cup of coffee or tea. The next time you make it, turn it into a ritual. As you prepare it, notice the details. The cool, smooth feel of the ceramic mug in your hand. The sound of the coffee beans as you scoop them. As you pour the hot water, listen. The sound of the stream of water. The click and whir of the coffee machine. Let those sounds be the music of this moment. Look and smell. Watch the steam dance and rise. See the colors of the coffee and water blend together. Before you drink, bring the cup close to your nose, close your eyes, and for just a few seconds, let that aroma be the only thing that exists in your world. Before you taste, hold the mug in both hands. Feel its warmth seeping into your palms, a comforting and grounding sensation. And now, the first sip. Don't just drink it. Taste it. Is it bitter? Sweet? Rich? Let it awaken all of your senses, as if this is the first time you've ever experienced this taste. For that 1 minute, you are not worrying about the upcoming meeting. You are not thinking about your emails. You are simply there, completely present with your cup of coffee. What you've just done is a form of informal meditation. It's how we bring mindfulness from the meditation cushion into every corner of our lives. It's the tool to break the autopilot mode we so often get stuck in. Think about it. How many thousands of cups of coffee have we drunk while our mind was already at the office? In those moments, we weren't really tasting our coffee, we were tasting our anxiety. But a trap here is to try to do everything this way and then feel overwhelmed. I have to be mindful when I brush my teeth, mindful in the shower, mindful when I get dressed. That's exhausting. The secret is to start small. Choose just one small act each morning to be the anchor for your mindful attention. Maybe it's the coffee. Maybe it's the moment you brush your teeth. Maybe it's when you moisturize your face. Just one thing, and this reveals a beautiful secret. There are no mundane actions. There is only mundane attention. Any action, no matter how small or simple, when done with 100% of your being, becomes a sacred ritual. We've explored a whole set of wonderful practices for the morning. But now we must talk about the most important practice of all, the one you will need every single day. Because you will have mornings where you forget all of this. You will have days when you wake up, grab your phone, and the monkey mind will win. The most important practice is what you do in the moment you realize this. This brings us to the very heart of the path, compassion. In Buddhism, the words are metta, which means loving kindness, and karuna, which means compassion. And the practice of these virtues must always begin with yourself. The spiritual path is not a straight line to the top of a mountain. It's more like a dance, a continuous process of getting lost in the forest and then gently finding your way back to the path. That moment when you realize you've been distracted, swept away by thought, that is not a moment of failure. That very moment of realizing is a moment of mindfulness. Let's visit Sarah one last time. She's had a terrible week. Work has been overwhelming with sleepless nights. Every morning, she has forgotten all her practices and dived straight into the chaos. On Friday morning, while frantically checking her email, she suddenly stops. She realizes she hasn't taken a single minute for herself all week. Immediately, the voice of her inner critic chimes in, loud and sharp. See? You failed. You can't even stick with this. But this time, something is different. She doesn't believe that voice anymore. Instead, she stops. She places a hand over her heart. She can feel its beat, and she speaks to herself with the same gentleness she would offer a dear friend. It's okay. This week was really hard. You did the best you could. You can begin again, right now, with just one breath. And she takes a deep breath. What Sarah just did is the most advanced practice of all. The biggest trap on this path is the pursuit of perfection. The goal is not to never fall down. The goal is to get really, really good at getting back up with kindness. The biggest mistake is turning these beautiful tools into another set of standards to judge yourself with. Oh, I forgot to be mindful with my coffee. I'm so bad at this. I got angry this morning, so I've ruined everything. This is not about adding another item to your to-do list that you can fail at. And so, we end with the most important lesson of all. Every morning is a new beginning. But more than that, every single moment is a new beginning. The most profound practice is not the gratitude, or the breathing, or the intention. It is the simple, gentle, and non-judgmental act of the compassionate return. It is the whisper you offer yourself, the whisper that says, "It's okay. Let's begin again. Right here, right now."